All right, so here's those mirrors that I was showing you yesterday. And these were pulled off the wall. These were mounted to the bathroom wall, so they still have that mirror adhesive on there. And you know, I could peel this off of here. I think just a heat gun would take it off, but I really don't want to mess with it and potentially damage the backing of this mirror and, you know, kind of remove that silver. So I'm going to attach this to a backer board using just more of that mirror construction adhesive, and I think that will work out fine. And I do want to attach this to a backer board just because it's kind of, you know, flimsy this way, and I just want it to have some support so it doesn't look like a funhouse mirror. Here's what I decided to do with the frame. I'm gonna make kind of a wide frame like this. I think that'll be nice, but rather than buying pine boards, I decided to buy some poplar. And the reason why is because it's a nicer board, but it's still pretty inexpensive. And when I'm looking through the lumber bin at the home center, I can usually find some pretty straight ones. When I'm trying to find pine boards, yeah, they're super cheap, but it's really hard to get a straight board. And poplar is not the prettiest wood on its own, but since I'm gonna paint this, I think that's the best option. This is 1/2-inch sheathing plywood. It's a low-grade plywood that's got lots of holes and knots in it, but it doesn't matter since I'm gonna be using this as a backer board for the mirror. I just posted an Instagram story about shooting this video right now about my podcast that I'm about to do. One of my goals is to really up my Instagram game. I think I've just kind of let it kind of slip aside, and I've been posting like one picture on there like every 2 weeks or something. It's kind of funny because I've talked to a number of other people who kind of have the same feeling as me. Whenever we're caught in struggling, trying times, it's kind of when we feel most motivated to create. But anyways, this is my podcast setup. It's on my router table, and I've got to come up with a better system for this thing. So I just use my laptop here. I've got a camera, and then I've got this little light here that fills in my face. And the microphone makes me look like I kind of know what I'm doing. But really the problem here is that this isn't the ideal setup for producing an audio podcast. Even though we have the video part of it, the audio podcast is kind of the main thing. And as you know, in this shop, since I just use an on-camera microphone, it's very echoey. It's less echoey when I keep my garage door open. If I ever have to shut that, it gets very echoey. But what I'd like to do is somehow find like a small corner of the shop and build like a podcast booth, even like a temporary podcast booth. And it doesn't have to be big. It only needs to be like this size, something that I could just fit in there and have it a little bit more soundproofed and just a little bit more privacy. It's kind of hard when I'm recording my podcast and, you know, some mail guy or UPS guy or somebody walks up and it interferes with that. So I'm trying to give that some thought. Luckily, I think I have some space in my shop. I would just have to rearrange some things and see if I could make that happen. So Chad and I record every Wednesday at 9 o'clock my time, and we've been having a whole string of guests. It's been really fun. We had Matthias Wando on there. We have Antonio Centeno who has been making the shoe shine box. And then today, in a half hour, we're gonna be talking to Jared Poland from Fro Knows Photo, one of my favorite, well, it is my favorite photography channel on YouTube. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him. But honestly, this podcast has been one of the most exciting things I've done in years. It was really fun to just step outside of my comfort zone and try something totally new. It kind of reminds me of my early days on YouTube where I had no idea what I was doing. And it's the same with this podcast, as you can tell. We don't really know what we're doing. We're making it up as we go along, but it's super fun. I was looking through your pictures on my Christmas gift making folder, and I came across this napkin holder from Trevor Pull, and I think it looks like a fun project. I went ahead and bought some napkins so I could get the size of these things, and then I drew up some simple templates in Illustrator. Once again, I'll include these in the description of this video if you want to make your own. I need to cut out 2 of these scallop shapes. I can do those at once by taking 2 boards. These are just scrap 1x6s and tape them together using double-sided carpet tape. I guess all carpet tape is double-sided, right? I bet there's like a carpet guy right now that's leaving a comment like, oh yeah, of course there's single-sided carpet tape. Last time I used this carpet tape was for my catification stuff. Remember I put the carpet on that? Only the cool kids remember that. But actually I think that's the only time I've ever used carpet tape for holding down carpet. And for those of you wondering, yes, the cats just love that entire system. It's so fun to watch them run around in it. Here you go. Okay, block of wood. I find that if I have one straight edged of a template that I want to line up with the edges of a board, it works out best if I cut that right to that line first. And I'll use spray adhesive to attach it. Now I can cut out both pieces at once using my jigsaw. So that is a lot of sanding to get that all smooth, and it might be easier to use some hand sandpaper in there. And it also, you might want to consider not taping these 2 pieces together and just cut each one out separately, because using a jigsaw can be sometimes a little iffy because the blade can flex if you're going too fast or you take the corners too fast. And then I ended up with some of that here where one side was kind of flared out a little bit, so I had to sand all that down. So just some options there. Also, sometimes that carpet tape is really strong and it can be kind of stubborn to get these 2 pieces apart. So I just use a putty knife, try to separate them this way. This is the template I drew out for the base, and I want to see if my size is going to work out. Kind of thinking this base should be a little bit wider this way. Okay, so I played around with this in Illustrator a little bit more and just came up with a little bit bigger base so that when these fit on there, should be comfortable enough to hold not that many. It doesn't need to hold a whole lot of napkins. I'll need to edge join 2 1x4s together so that I have a board wide enough for the base. So I've been watching a lot of Christmas movies. First, of course, we saw Die Hard. I have to watch Die Hard every year, but last night I just saw this craziest Christmas movie. It just came out. It's Mel Gibson. It's called Fat Man. Have you guys seen this? I thought it was awesome. It was pretty cool. I mean, it's a totally different take on Santa, where Mel Gibson plays more of like a kind of a realistic Santa who's going through some hard financial times. And then it's about a boy who gets coal for Christmas, so he hires a hitman to puts a contract out on Santa. It's insane. Give me some ideas for some other Christmas movies, especially obscure ones. I've seen all of the biggies. You know, It's a Wonderful Life. I'm not a fan of Christmas Story. I've never gotten into that one. But another one I really like is Anna and the Apocalypse. It's a musical. It's a zombie Christmas musical. I think that one's really funny, and the music is really catchy in it. Of course, Christmas Vacation and Home Alone, we've all seen those. Yeah, give me an idea, something I need to see. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll get back to it and cut it out. All right, so this is gonna go together something like that. Oh yeah, that's gonna look nice. Okay, I don't want to assemble this yet because I want to finish it, and it's gonna be difficult to finish inside of there if it's all assembled. So I kind of have to pre-finish these pieces. Plus, I'm kind of thinking what I want to do with this is I want to get an image transfer, probably of a poinsettia that would go on here, and I might want to do kind of an aging look with some stain on there. I'm not sure, I haven't quite figured that out yet. I'll save that for tomorrow. Plus I got to get back to working on that mirror. I'll see you then. Well, it probably won't be tomorrow, probably the next day. Wait a second, before I go, I was just testing these down in there, and I noticed that these are called plaid poinsettia lunch napkins, and it just made me wonder, are lunch napkins smaller because they just assume that you're not going to be as messy?